This is Log Analyzer, a command line security tool that analyzes server logs to automatically detect suspicious activity like brute force attacks and web scanning. It processes HTTP and SSH logs and looks for real attack patterns, such as failed logins, aggressive scanning, and abnormal request behavior, without needing any external resources. This is the CLI tool, which is the main way to use this log analyzer. For now, the two types of logs that you can analyze are web logs or HTTP logs and SSH access logs. For web logs, you can check for brute force attacks and also detect for scanning. For SSH logs, you can only detect for brute force attacks. For this test, we are going to be using the CIC IDS 2017 dataset. To get the raw data, we first downloaded this dataset and then convert the PCAP files to log files using this Zeek command here. Here, we're going to run the web analyzer on our Friday HTTP log file. And we can see that with a time window of 60 seconds, there were 32 windows in which brute force attacks occurred and 267 windows in which scanning attacks occurred. The process is the same for SSH analysis. Back on the GitHub page, we can see that the CLI tool has a lot of options for customizing the tool to do what we want, such as adjusting the time window and also providing the path for other log files if we don't want to use the ones from the dataset. Diving into the code here, the entire codebase is very modular and can be added to very easily. Take the web and SSH brute force, for example. For the web brute force, we start out with defining the function that takes in all the events, the minimum amount of requests that triggers a brute force attack, and it returns a Boolean value. The actual code block of the function just checks if the current service for the event is an HTTP request, and if the amount of requests is less than the minimum, and if it is, then it returns false, otherwise true. As you can see, the SSH brute force is very similar as it takes in the same values, and the only thing that's different is the service type and the minimum attempts that classify a brute force attempt. This trend of modularity continues throughout the entire codebase, and it's what makes this tool very efficient and future-proof. This project is fully documented in the README and the documentation. It is easy to run locally and designed to be extended.